how's it going? This is Eric Galvez. Got some great guests today for the Disability Guerrillas podcast. I've got Amy Yorke and Libby Yost, both from the University of Michigan Flint. Um, but yeah, they've got some very interesting perspectives, and I'll let them kind of introduce themselves, and we'll kind of get into everything. But Amy, do you want to go first and introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Thanks for having us here. My name is Amy Yorke, and I'm a physical therapist. And I've been a physical therapist for 32 years, which is just kind of like mind blowing how long I have been doing this. I am board certified in neurologic physical therapy, and I'm a professor at U of Flint in the physical therapy department. And I've been teaching for 18 years. And one of my jobs at U of M Flint has been to oversee HEART, which is our pro bono clinic, and HEART stands for Health Equity Action Research and Teaching, and have been very fortunate to be able to create a space where people from the community, particularly those with stroke and Parkinson's disease, are able to receive services. And feel so fortunate to have Libby as one of my coworkers and partners in crime, or partners in the resistance, maybe I should say.
And I'm Libby Yost. I'm an occupational therapist and have been for the last 13 years. I've been working at U of M Flint since 2020 as like a clinical assistant professor. And I met Amy when I went full time, and she told me about HEART in, I want to say 2021, and said, we really want to get OT on board. And it was just a match made in heaven. I came to HEART, and now we've expanded not only for OT and PT services, but we're trying to expand more into other programs beyond the clinic. So I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
Well, now, Amy, like we've known each other for, I was telling Libby beforehand that we've known each other for, gosh, almost 20 years. So, yeah, I'm so happy to have you on. But I was just wondering, like, can you tell me a little bit more about Heart? How did that get started? And
Yeah, it was something back in 2010. So, like, that's like 15 years ago, where faculty within our school, so primarily in public health and health sciences and PT, got a group of student leadership together and sent them to a conference. And with a faculty advisor, which at that time it was Edgar Torres,
okay,
started to create the structure of what a pro bono health clinic could look like. And when we started out, we were at a soup kitchen located in the north side of Flint, and we were open between like 11 and 1 on Fridays. And people that came to the soup kitchen could get their vital signs checked, so blood pressure and their weight checked, and receive health education. And that was able to be implemented pretty quickly. The PT visits didn't really start to happen until closer to like 2012.
okay,
And again, like, we provided visits that way. Um, we started to grow our services, in particular serving people who have chronic conditions. And so when you have a chronic condition, you commonly can't get skilled services paid for your insurance for an indefinite amount of time. And so if people were either uninsured or underinsured, they could come. And I think, like, when I started getting involved in HEART, since neuro is kind of my background, we had one particular person who came to HEART who had had a stroke, who had finished out his therapy, and it ended up being a really great success story. He came in a wheelchair, and I think maybe that was the only time he ever used his wheelchair to come into HEART. And so over time, and Libby, correct me if I'm wrong, I really think that we've developed a reputation within the community. And partly because we've had students who've come through HEART, who have worked at HEART, who then go into the community and work, and they like know that we're this great resource. And we've worked really hard to network with our community and to be like, hey, if you're seeing a person with a stroke or a person with Parkinson's disease, send them our way. The Parkinson's exercise class started back, I think, in 2016. I had gone to a continuing education course on Parkinson's wellness recovery power, and thought, again, Parkinson's is a very common neurodegenerative disorder where there's no cure, and exercise is the way to manage it. And so if I could get if I could offer a free exercise class for people with Parkinson's in the community, it would serve a dual purpose. And I would say that to me is this big issue about HEART, this dual purpose of both student learning through engaging with their community, as well as helping improve the community, improving their health and their engagement in the community. And that's like where I really appreciate OT's lens, like OT's perspective with this view on occupation, and how I think one of the reasons Libby and I get along so well is that we really see the bigger picture and we really want people to be engaged.
Yeah, I would say, like, since you've known Amy for a while, you know she is kind of a woman of action. And so when I started full time at U of M Flint, I got an email from Amy, and it just said, "Hey, are you interested in visiting HEART and seeing what we do?" And that was kind of the initial email. I went out, visited. She said, "Do you think OT could have a place here?" I said yes. And it was that we were off and running, kind of picking up a caseload of people who were interested in getting occupational therapy because there were things in their life that they need and wanted to do, and maybe that they weren't doing or weren't able to do as well prior to their stroke or as their diagnosis with Parkinson's kind of progressed. So I would agree with Amy in that the big picture is, the clinic is one area where we can get people active, get people involved. I think we're always thinking about community reintegration, which is kind of the ultimate goal after an injury or an illness, is how do we get you back into the community doing the things you need and want to be able to do. We recently started a bowling league, and that was inspired by one of the patients who had been living with a stroke for a long time. And the students were asking him questions, and they found out that he used to bowl all the time and hadn't bowled since his stroke, which was about 5 or 6 years prior. So that just kind of struck a chord, like, oh, you haven't done this. And it's not just because of the stroke. That might have been the spark, but there's a lot of things in the environment that can make it hard for people to get back into the community. So we, as OTs and PTs, I think we can help break down some of those barriers, or at least help facilitate some problem solving. Like, how can we help you get back to those things? So it involved going to Richfield Bowl in Flint and getting people involved.
How like I really love the collaboration between physical therapy and occupational therapy. I was wondering, is there a lot of interaction between the two groups over at U of M Flint?
I would say yes. And it's really nice because, especially in the medical model of care, so like hospitals, outpatient, skilled nursing facilities, there's a lot of interaction between OT and PT. So it's kind of this authentic collaboration outside of the school setting, and we can start that in school so that they get to know each other's roles, responsibilities. It's really a team effort, especially when you're working with people with neurologic conditions. It can't just be a one-stop shop for all your needs. Like, there needs to be a lot of people on board, and there's a lot you can learn from each other. So yeah, I would say.
Yeah, and I think one of the really cool things that we had started is back in 2019, I'd come up with this idea called Move More, and the idea was about, like, if we work the heart harder, we can have better, like, neuroplastic changes in the brain. And it was really the locomotor clinical practice guideline for physical therapists came out and really promoted this idea of high intensity gait training. So just before COVID hit, like, had come up with this idea about implementing this idea of Move More, which was really targeting people with chronic stroke, incomplete spinal cord injury, and brain injury. So it started out as this interprofessional. So at that time it was PT students and nursing students executing high intensity walking training with people with a stroke. And so since that, like, starting of that idea, we've kind of like branched out and came up with this idea of, could we do like Move More for the upper extremity and create an environment where if somebody has a hemiparetic arm, we could get them to do more repetitions in an hour treatment session. And our goal is to then have better outcomes. And so back in 2024, was it, Libby? Like, really spent time creating it and then executed it for the first time. Was it last fall in 2024 or was it January 2025?
It's January 2025. It's wild that we're still in the 1 year time frame.
Yeah. So Libby, why don't you talk a little bit about that and kind of how it works and how we really do have PT and OT students working side by side?
Yeah, the Move More umbrella is really cool. And I just love the name of it because it doesn't just have to be in the clinic, right? You can move more in the community. You can move more at your home. You don't have to just move your legs more. You can move your arms, your body, anything. So I love the generalizability of the Move More name. So I just want to say that it's just it allows us to keep adding programs. They've started a Move More for lymphedema. I promise I'll get back to the upper extremity piece, but just talking about like, okay, now we're literally moving more fluid in your body. So it's a really cool concept that I think has so many like uses. So upper extremity is exactly what Amy said, just moving your arm more after a stroke. The brain instantly starts to kind of lose, I would say, like cortical space or cortical real estate. And so it's instantly, we're fighting against non-use. And so when you've got somebody who's been living with a stroke for 5 or 6 years, it's an uphill battle. And you're getting people who have not moved their arm functionally in a long time. And so our goal was really just to let's get you moving again and see what kind of outcomes we can get. Where it's a pilot study, so it's a research study, so we weren't sure like what we were going to be able to get in terms of outcomes, and there are some promising things that we found. But we're looking to grow and think about, okay, if you can get enough movement in this hour session, how can we keep that going? How can you go home and have an action plan and keep moving? So it's a work in progress, and we're excited for what we've seen so far. But yeah, it's really just moving the arm more and seeing how you can use it, probably more importantly, functionally at home. So
yeah, actually, Libby, I really love the collaboration between physical therapy and occupational therapy. Like, does this happen at other schools, or do you know?
I would like to hope so. I know, so the term like interprofessional education is a pretty commonly used term in university settings. It's where you get 2 or more professions together that are working with their own respective skill sets, but also together to solve problems. And interprofessional education is really strong at U of M Flint. Yeah. So I would say, I hope it's being done elsewhere. I think it's a great opportunity for the students. I think there's a lot that OT and PT can bring. If I think about OT and PT as like a Venn diagram, that center of the Venn diagram, it's big. I feel like there's a lot of overlap, and there's also different skills and gifts that each profession can bring to the table. So Move More upper extremity has been cool because I would say, if I had to venture out there, I'd say that physical therapy students probably bring more from the biomechanical frame of reference. So they're able to do more of the resistance strength training and have a little bit, I would say, more expertise in that area. OT students can come from a task specific perspective, and both professions can do both of those things. But I think OT comes in and says, all right, what kind of real world tasks can we have the person do that would complement some of these, what we would call like therapeutic exercises? And I think from what I've seen so far, there's been really good problem solving, really good collaboration. We try to pair the PT and OT student together who are working with patients so that they can each kind of lend their insights. So.
Oh yeah, see that's the thing. I think that's right, because like in the real world, there's a lot of collaboration between physical therapy and occupational therapy. So I think it's great to have that exposure like early on. So I really love what you guys are doing. That's great. Early exposure to different health professionals is just going to benefit everyone. Like, do you know if other programs do that, or like I'm curious. Like, I really wish I had that early on.
I think that are both like PT and OT accreditation bodies like require it now. So I think really? So that is like interprofessional education is much more common than it was really when I went to school or when you went to school, because I think as as a healthcare system, we realize that people have better outcomes when healthcare providers work together collectively
Exactly. Yep.
with the patient. And if we don't understand where each other's frame of reference is, or perhaps like understanding like what perhaps a nurse's priority is. And if you can understand what the nurse's priority is perhaps then you're better able to negotiate at the bedside when perhaps they don't want you to get the patient up because perhaps they're in too much pain. And we could say like actually get them up might actually cause them to have decrease in pain, and we can work together like to get the pain med, on board. So I think that understanding goes a long way to our students being better able to communicate with those other healthcare professionals and really try to put that patient at the center of care. Something that we've been talking a lot about too is this idea, like to me, of capacity versus participation. So capacity is this idea of like, well, how are they doing in the clinic? So maybe like how fast are they walking, or like how well do they do this task of like zipping up their coat? Versus participation is like, what are they actually doing when they're outside the walls of our clinic? And so this past spring, summer, I was fortunate to get a small grant from the Hagerman Institute, which is part of our part of U of M Flint, and was able to purchase Fitbits for I think about 15 different people. And so what I had a student do is we tracked their steps during the week in between the times that they were coming to therapy. And he kind of had this graph on the wall of like how far people were going with the goal. And I even forget what the goal was, like how far we wanted to travel to, like based on the number of steps that we took. And then we're able to kind of take that, and the Crim Festival of Races is a really big race that's held in Flint, Michigan in August every year. And on Friday of the weekend of events, they have an event called the Michigan Mile. And this is our third year where we were able to get our participants from H.E.A.R.T to actually walk this Michigan Mile. And to me, that is honestly like one of the best things ever that we do. Like Libby talked about bowling, like getting people out to bowl and having people do this Michigan Mile is absolutely, I think, some of the best time that I have as a clinician, to be able to see these people out in the environment doing something that perhaps they never thought they could ever do again, or they never thought they would do at all, let alone after they had a stroke or being diagnosed with Parkinson's. And watching them experience this and get that medal after we cross, hearing people clap for them, it's honestly like one of the best things I think as a therapist that I could experience.
I was just saying it's just like the best example of that capacity. We're building capacity within the clinic, but we're always thinking like zooming out and saying like, well, what would this look like out in the real world? What kind of barriers do we have to talk about? How can we help get you ready and help be kind of in your corner to support you as you go back to some of these things, or even just encourage you, like you can do this, and we're here to help.
And Eric, I think if it was up to Libby and I, like we do not have a lack of ideas. Like we are always coming up with ideas. Like what would it be like if we created like a pickleball group? Like what would that look like? Like could we hook up a pickleball net like in the clinic because we got some decent space, and like what would that look like? Or kickball, or like whatever that is, and trying to like figure out how, because I used to come from a framework of our students come and go, so we always have this resource of students. But what I've really come to recognize is the need is great. The need is great, and we don't have unlimited resources. So how can we think really thoughtfully and critically about the resources we have, the people that we want to serve, and how can we continue to serve the most amount of people for the most time that we can? And I would say like H.E.A.R.T is experiencing this growing pain like right now. And I think I wish we had unlimited resources. We don't. And so I do think thoughtfully about how can we continue to serve and do a really good job. Like where can we get the biggest bang for our buck, basically?
And continue, I would say, like not just have one-off programs that end after a semester. I think that's been a challenge that we are responsible for is how do we keep these programs going? Like, how do we keep the Michigan Mile participation going every year? How do we keep bowling going every semester? So that's important to us, I think.
Oh, can I ask you, like, do you have anything planned in the future, or like I'm just curious.
One of our faculty, Dr. Leslie Smith, who's also a graduate of U of M Flint's PT program, is starting this Move More for Lymphedema program. So again, this idea that people with lymphedema, like, it is a chronic problem that people have. And I was just recently, during a bout of insomnia, up watching TV, and again, there are a group of people who are possibly like hidden, and I don't mean that like in a negative way, but they're not getting the services that they need over time to best help manage their lymphedema and be able to do the things that they want to do. And so Dr. Leslie Smith has been starting that this semester. Her goal is to continue it. And again, thinking really thoughtfully about how do we blend physical activity with like self-management, and really help make a difference in these people's lives. I also have a small student group who has started another like generalized exercise program, more for people that maybe have finished out their clinic visits at Heart, but still could benefit from having a group of people to exercise with. So a more generalized program that helps people, no matter what your diagnosis, be able to exercise again in a safe way that is offered free of charge, provided by students, but that would help eliminate or manage that barrier of cost, because cost is a huge barrier to people in general. And we're fortunate enough that the location that we offer services at is located at a bus stop. And so if people do use public transportation, they can come there. So yeah, Libby, what other thoughts do you have?
I think, it started with the PT Heart Clinic, and it's really grown to include as many programs as we can think of and sustain. So we also, are trying to, I would say, look at other populations. Amy and I have been collaborating with the ALS Association of Michigan for the last 3 years now to put on a Care Partner Lab, which just offers, again, additional services or additional support for people who are caring for individuals with ALS. And oftentimes these are what we call informal caregivers or care partners, family members, friends, and they may be kind of thrust into this situation that they don't feel fully equipped for. And so the students put on hands-on learning labs where the care partners can come in. We have a virtual session as well where they can just learn care partner skills, how to help somebody with getting out of bed, how to help somebody with getting into the bathroom, different tools that can be helpful to get that done. Because like Amy said, the needs are high. And with our current, I would say, healthcare system, people aren't able to get all the services that they need. And so if we can offer even just a fraction of that to help kind of chip away at this systemic barrier, then we're going to try to do it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Libby, because, like, honestly, I think the nonprofit sector is probably the way to go for health care. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Challenge Center in San Diego, but it's also a nonprofit physical therapy clinic. So it's needs based. They don't accept insurance at all, but they've got a very great structure there in terms of reaching the demographics that they need to with people with physical disabilities. Like, I was just wondering, like, how do you guys recruit patients for the clinic?
Yeah, typically 2 to 3 times a year, I send emails out to clinicians in the area. I also think our social media, actually, and our students help manage the social media, do a great job in getting the word out that, like, here's a QR code to scan if you've got a patient, or here's a QR code to scan if you're a therapist and you'd like to volunteer. And I think, like, sharing our stories. And I do think the longer we've been around, our students that are now therapists remember that.
Okay.
And so always know that we're there as a resource. And then I think one of the best things too is when we have students come back and actually serve in a capacity at heart and be able to talk about like, this was so meaningful to me. And like to tell the students that too, because our students are so busy and have so much on their plate. And so when they're at Heart for a 3-hour shift, I really want them to know like what they're doing matters. We open the door, like even if it's just a crack, to say your life does not have to be like this, like how you're thinking it does. There are these other possibilities, and wow, what a great gift that we're able to give them is that hope.
Like one of the big things with Disability Guerrillas is that we want to humanize the rehab experience. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put both you guys on the Disability Guerrillas hot seat so we can get to know you guys as individuals. So I think, Libby, you've seen some of these, and I don't know if you have, Amy, but they're kind of more random questions. And again, they're scientifically designed to get to know you better. So we'll go ahead and start this. But yeah, first question of the hot seat, and we'll go ahead and start with Amy here. What is your personal theme song?
Girls Just Want to Have Fun came up. I think partly because Cyndi Lauper just got input into the Hall of Fame. So that's like the one that like came to my mind right away.
Okay. All right, cool. And Libby, how about you?
It changes often, but right now I would say The Dog Days Are Over by Florence and the Machine is like one of it's a song I never get sick of, and it always is a mood booster, so I can always do a little dance to it.
Florence and what year did that come out?
It was like one of her first major, I would say, mainstream hits. I want to say it came out in like the early 2000s, but it's so good. It will turn your mood around, in 3 minutes.
Okay, cool. Next question here is, and we'll start with you, Libby, on this one. Who is your personal hero?
So because I just became a mom, I have to say just all moms right now, it has given me this collective empathy and appreciation for moms everywhere. I think all moms are my heroes. There's been so many moms in my life that have come in and helped me and offered guidance and support. So I can't say enough good things about moms.
Okay. And Amy, how about you?
So it's really funny that you said your mom, because I was going to say my dad. So so my dad is worked so hard to create a life for his kids that he never had. My dad was a truck driver, and he farmed part-time, worked his tail off. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's 3 years ago. And I would say he has worked so hard to kind of try to, for lack of a better word, battle the disease. And something that Libby and I have in common, this is funny about Heart. Libby needed some stuff hauled, and she called her dad to help her. And I said, Libby, if you only knew how many times my dad has helped haul stuff to Heart too. So this idea that Libby said mom and I said dad's I think that's pretty powerful.
Okay, cool. Next question. We'll go ahead and start with Amy. If there was a movie biopic about your life, who would you choose to play you?
I cannot think of her name. This is horrible. So, Brunette was in. This is horrible. This is she's played in multiple movie roles. Sandy.
Sandra Bullock? No.
Yes.
Bullock.
Don't you think it's either that or Demi Moore? Only because if I have short hair, I think Demi would be fantastic. Okay. So, but Sandra Bullock has that little quirkiness about her that I appreciate. So yeah, either one of those two.
All right.
This is hard. Oh boy. This is not a great answer, but a patient one time told me I looked and acted like Pippi Longstocking, and that is not a real person, but or is not a living person, but that is probably some personification there of Pippi Longstocking.
Do you have red hair?
Libby, I was thinking of Jennifer Lawrence for you, because
Well, I will take that. I think I would take that. She's a great actress.
Okay. All right, Libby, I'm gonna start with you on this question here. Right, what is your guilty pleasure?
I have a lot. I would say I'm going to give you a couple. Getting tattoos.
Oh wow.
Sometimes impulsively. And then I'll say salt on vanilla ice cream is one of my favorite things. It's so good. Just a little sprinkle of salt on vanilla ice cream I don't feel guilty about it, but that is like my strange pleasure.
Oh, I'll have to try that.
It's good. Just a little bit of salt. Even if you wanted to get daring, you put a little drizzle of olive oil on that too. So good. So good.
Now, how did you figure that out? Like,
I don't know. I think I just like salt, and I don't know. I think maybe it was like a salted caramel variation, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna try it, and it was so good. So good.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, Amy, what is your guilty pleasure?
There is not a franchise of the Real Housewives that I like. I'm a Bravoholic. Okay. So love, like, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City right now is super exciting and hot. But I don't miss any of them. Real Housewives of Potomac is on right now. Real Housewives of Orange County. I watch them all.
Okay. And I'm going to move on to the next question here. If you could have a second chance at one event in your life, what would it be and why? Or what would you choose? And actually, Amy, I'm going to start with you on this one.
I kind of come from a framework like that. I don't really have regrets. Like, I think like everything like has a purpose. But you know what? This is what I'm going to share because this one's really close to my heart. So I am 55 years old. And when I was 54, during a routine colonoscopy, they found out I had colon cancer. And I wish, so I turned 50 in 2020, so that was COVID. But I had the opportunity to get a colonoscopy like in 2022, and life happened and I didn't. So if there was one thing that I wish I would have done differently, I wish I would have had a colonoscopy earlier than I did. Like, so this is my call out to everybody to make sure that you engage in your preventative health care. So I like really want to like advocate for that because those things matter and they're important. So yeah.
And Libby?
I think that was a great one, Amy. I think I tell students this a lot. If I could go back to school, I think I would have asked a lot more questions. I think I spent a lot of time thinking that I had to know the answers, or that my questions were not good enough, or that I was going to embarrass myself. And so I didn't raise my hand as often. I didn't always volunteer because I didn't want to look silly or make a mistake. And I think like realizing how important mistakes and trial and error are for learning. And I see students, when they put themselves out there, it's really powerful, and I think they get a good learning experience from it. Heart can be a scary, intimidating place because you are putting yourself out there and treating real people. And so I think I would go back and I would have squeezed a little bit more out of my education, I think, and not been so worried about how I was coming across.
Okay. All right, and Libby, I'm gonna start with you on this next question here. Like, what is your favorite website?
So this is probably also a guilty pleasure, but I love Yahoo. I look at Yahoo Celebrity. I look at Yahoo News. I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite, but it's like my most frequented. It's like my, it's not a good source. I shouldn't say it's not a good source for news, but it's probably not the most reputable source for news, but I love Yahoo.
Really? Honestly, I haven't used Yahoo in years. Like, it's about Google.
They had like a female CEO that really turned it around, and she did some things, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to support Yahoo. And now I like, yeah.
Okay. And Amy?
So this is so geeky. Like, this is too, like, I wonder too, just the difference in age between Libby and I too, like how, like, I use the internet. Like, so mine's neuropt.org, which is the Academy of NeuroPT's like main website. So I'm just like, honestly, like, I'm like, that's probably the one I go to the most, which is hilarious. But yeah, one of my favorites, I would say. It used to be rehabmeasures.org, like what's through the Sarah Ryan Ability Lab, but I would say that I don't use that as much anymore as I used to. But yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. I've got a few more questions here. I've got 10 questions total. But I'll start with Amy on this one. What is your favorite restaurant to eat out at for dinner?
Yeah, there's so many. There is a place in Fenton, Michigan called The Laundry, and it's a very it's probably one of my favorite. Like it's a place that we go to like for my birthday or for anniversary. So I would say like that's one because we don't go to it very often. So I think of it as being kind of a special place. So The Laundry in Fenton, Michigan.
So what kind of food is it?
I would say mostly American food, but like they definitely like their menu does change over time, and they have some really unique specialty drinks. And yeah, it's a really just kind of neat place to go to.
Okay, and Libby, how about you?
I would say Frida Batido's in Ann Arbor is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It's like Cuban American inspired. So good. I try to branch out and try new places, but I always come back to Frida's. So that.
What's your go-to dish over there?
So they do. I hope I get it right. A Frida is like a sandwich that they put shoestring fries on, and so I get like a black bean burger. They do all locally sourced vegetables, so like fresh jalapenos on that. And then a Batito is like a milkshake, a fruit milkshake. So you have to do. So I do that, and then the coconut cream milkshake. And you can get rum in it if you want to, but you don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to. But
you don't have to.
I'm getting encouraged. Okay. Right. Libby, we'll start with you on this one. What was your favorite toy growing up?
Man, let's see. This is hard for me to think about. It's funny because I'm not a pediatric therapist, and I gravitate more toward adult practice, but there was, the lifelike dolls. I think I love those that you could actually feed and like change their diapers, which is hilarious now because as a mother, I'm like, oh, why did I want to do that? Why was that fun for me? But so probably one of those. I think there was one that you could like actually feed, and then it would actually go to the bathroom, It was just so kind of. I don't know if that was just the 90s era or if there's a version of that in every generation, but yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, and Amy?
And I had this game that was kind of like a little bit pre-Atari, where it was just like this electronic game, and like the ball would go back and forth. It was a handheld game. Like I don't remember. Like you'd have to like push like which button you thought. You could play it by yourself, or you could play it with other people. And then
is it Pong?
Maybe it's something like that, but I don't think like I actually had that. And then like Cabbage Patch dolls came out when I was older, but I still have a Cabbage Patch. Like I wanted a Cabbage Patch doll. So like I still have that. Like I still like own that Cabbage Patch doll. So yeah, you're really taking us back with these.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, these are fun.
Okay, this question is very controversial. So I really want to get your take on this. And Amy, we'll start with you. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Absolutely not. Nope. Absolutely not.
Okay. Any reason why?
I just don't. I think pineapple should be cold and pizza should be warm. So to me, that difference, I don't want that. And I guess I don't want sweet perhaps on my pizza. I prefer things that are more savory. Okay.
And Libby, what's your take?
I would say yes. I don't get it that often, but I support it. I like a little fusion. I think the sweet and savory is fun. And I like when people do, I wouldn't say this is like, a new thing that people are doing, but I like when people do that with their food. I think hot honey on pizza is like a recent thing that is super good. So yeah, I support it.
Well, have you guys ever heard of like French fries in burritos? That is incredible. Yeah, definitely try that if you can, because I learned about that in San Diego, and I think I last time I was in San Diego was for a conference, and that was one of the first things I wanted to get there. But yeah, French fries and burritos. are
That sounds
incredible.
awesome.
We'll definitely try that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now I'm gonna end this here, but Libby, do you have any parting words for everyone, or any words of
Um,
advice for people with disabilities?
I would say I was thinking about this, and I would send a message to clinicians because I think we've learned a lot from our patients. I would say go in interested in what your patient's goals and priorities are, because you might think you know what somebody needs, but people know what they need and what they want, and so you've got to give people space to express what they need and want, and we're there to be in their corner and to help them problem solve, but we're not there to enforce our own agenda of what we think that somebody needs. So
Okay. And Amy, any words of advice or parting
Yeah,
words?
I think mine is to always expect more in a healthy way, like not in a perfectionist way, not in a material way, but I expect more out of myself. I expect more out of my patients. I expect more out of my students, because I do think when expectations are high and somebody believes that you can reach those expectations, we do. And expect more and believe more. Believe that people can do things that they want to be able to do. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, you guys are officially off the hot seat here, so I really want to say thanks again for joining us, and yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye on Heart.
thanks for doing this platform and letting us talk about it and talk about something that one of our passions. So
Yep.
thank you.
All right.